cloning is a huge concern with dairy farmers, federal corporations, and consumers. For starters, people do not know what cloning is. Also, consumers and food corporations believe that dairy cows that are cloned are not safe to eat. Lastly, farmers are concerned about their livestock and how cloning will affect that. Cloning dairy cattle goes against Mother Nature's look on life. Cloning is when the donor cells are grown in tissue culture. After the donor cell nucleus is then collected and put into the recipient's egg. The cloned egg is then put into the surrogate mother. Pregnancy is then monitored by an ultrasound. The cloning technologies of embryo splitting and nuclear transfer was first introduced to the dairy industry in the 1980s. Most dairy farmers do not clone their animals because statistics say that 9 out of 13 dairy calves are born alive during birth. If dairy cattle are cloned, the cows have to have a superior pedigree over the cattle in the herd. A pedigree is a cow's family trait. Therefore, scientists want cattle that have superior pedigrees so the farmer can have a superior cloned cow. In January of 2008, milk and meat from cloned dairy cattle, goats, and pigs were taken off the market. In the statement of the Federal Drug Administration's assessment that same day, the U.S. Department of Agriculture asked companies to continue by keeping milk off the shelves. This is mostly because the consumer confidence is low, because the FDA not putting the label on the milk saying it was from a cloned cow. Many food companies refuse to put cloned dairy products in their food. This is because the consumers and food companies feel uncomfortable about eating the products due to health, ethical, and environmental reasons. There are also concerns about the side effects due to hormones in the harvesting of the embryo. Many companies, for example, Kraft and Dean Foods, which are the nation's two largest dairy producers. Farmers are also concerned about cloning their animals and the clone having problems. Studies show that the genetic merit and pedigree of the cloned animal were slightly lower for embryo split cows than their full siblings for milk conception, whether the cow is going to have enough fat protein in their milk, mastitis resistance, whether the cow is going to have a higher somatic cell count, how long the cow is going to live, or cow fertility, if the cow is going to be able to create offspring. This is concerning farmers and second-guessing if they really want to clone their animals. Most consumers are concerned about food and safety cloned dairy cattle. Cloned dairy cattle are designed to have a maximum meat and milk output, but that requires massive amounts of feed for that animal. The rumen, the largest stomach compartment for the cow, where everything is broken down. If the cow gets too much food for them to handle, they could have many complications. For example, cattle can get grain poisoning, acidosis, which develops when you feed the cow too much grain or pellets. This caused by the grain having too much carbohydrates for the stomach to handle and produces too much lactic acid buildup. This occurs more in grass-fed cows or cows that have been introduced to exceeding amounts of grain. The public and consumers are worried about cloning. The majority of Americans that think that cloning animals is wrong think that meat is unsafe. Numerous dairy farmers say that they did not want their livestock cloned due to the consumer's fear. Dairy industry said that they did not benefit from cloning. Most people say that cloning is unnatural or is playing with God. Also, people are getting upset because their animals have had birth defects, physiological impairments, illness, and premature. Other problems consist of large offspring syndrome, a typical fatal condition associated with other abnormalities of cloning. In conclusion, Food Standards Agency research found that most British people think that cloning animals interfering with nature, and they are also concerned about safety of food from cloned animals. Now you know more about how cloning works, why milk from cloned cows may not be good for you to drink, why farmers may not want to clone their livestock, and why consumers are concerned about eating meat from dairy cattle. Mother Nature's outlook on life goes against the ways of cloning.